right, welcome. It's Firearm Sales and Training with Jim and Jim. We're at Bly's Shooting Sports here in Valparaiso, Indiana. We're going to be doing a little comparison today between a couple of aftermarket triggers. We've got on the one hand in the CZ P10 full-size gun, we have an Apex trigger. So a lot of people love the Apexes. They got really famous with the M&Ps originally, and they've traveled on to others. Make an incredibly good trigger for the CZ Apex. And then on the second hand, we have the Glock Alpha trigger from Timney. This one is in a Shadow Systems DR920L. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at them from a dry fire perspective. And then Jim and I are going to shoot them both and have a little fun today. So let's start with the Shadow Systems, the Timney Apex trigger. Something that a lot of people notice about this trigger is that if you do pull the trigger and you go to the reset, when you let go, it doesn't necessarily reset. You almost have to kind of tap it to get it to reset. So dry firing, you see that pretty consistently. If I hold it and I let go there, it reset. Pull, let off, pull, sticks right there once you do the slide reciprocation. So. Understand that there are some issues. There's supposedly a set screw up above that I'll be able to go in and twist, and maybe this will go away. If not, we'll probably be sending this over to Timney and let me know the best solution for it. When I do pull this trigger, I feel about a say 3.5, 4 pound wall that you get to, and then it pops through. So significantly better than the traditional triggers that come on these. These are probably 5 pound triggers, 5.5 pounds. This runs at about 3.5 to 4 pounds, so it takes about a pound off. There's a very distinct wall that comes with it. So once you pull it in the slack, you do feel this wall, and you pull through it. You get over here to the CZ with the Apex trigger. This trigger is a little bit wider. It's a flat face trigger. It's a little bit wider. This all becomes a very flat face trigger. When we pull this, I don't feel much of a wall. There is one, but it doesn't feel like, but it kind of slides through. This one's probably about a pound lighter than the Timney on the Shadow Systems. Probably about a 2.5, 3 pound trigger is where I would estimate whenever I pull this. It feels really good. It just slides right through. There is a wall, but it's very indistinct. It just slides right through. And we don't seem to have that issue of sticking. It comes right back out to where it's supposed to start that again. Really good trigger. When Jim and I were at the NRA show and saw the Apex, they had a CZ. Jim, being the hipster that he is, loves CZs, and decided that what he wanted to do was get a couple of these, put them in his 2 guns, and they work magically. They're really, really easy triggers. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shoot them, take a look, not primarily at how good of a shot we are, but sort of our impressions on how they shoot. I want to see if the Timney trigger still has that sticking point the way I typically shoot. So like I said, if I hold it down and I let off, it stays back. Tap it, it'll go forward. So that little stick, I want to see if when I'm actually shooting rounds, if that's going to be a problem. So here we go.
Hi, it's Jim Sinesco for Firearm Sales and Training, and today we're going to do some comparisons between the Shadow Systems using the Timney Alpha Glock trigger compared to the CZ Apex trigger. If you recall, we did a video not too long ago. We were shooting the different guns, the CZ guns specifically. We talked about the new Apex trigger and that, how wonderful I thought they were, and most people who shoot it really do like that trigger. The question comes down to, we got a lot of people asking us, how does that new Timney trigger, Alpha Glock trigger, compare to that Apex trigger in that CZ? So we're going to go ahead and do some shooting. I'm going to shoot 10 shots each gun. Just kind of, now we're not really worried about where I'm hitting. That's kind of not the important thing here. We just want to feel how that trigger works as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and load up the Shadow Systems and we'll see what happens here. something. It's a nice trigger when it goes to the reset. I had to come off the gun, off the grip, of course. That's not a good thing. Obviously, there's something probably needs to be worked on, probably a Timney. We're gonna let Jim Sam shoot in a little bit, just kind of get his feel on it. Without a doubt, there is something sticking in there. I did have to kind of slap it, and just when I was ready to slap it, it would go to the reset. So there's a little hesitation going on there, so I'm not really sure. But as far as a nice tight group and the way the trigger felt, it was nice and smooth. Actually, a little bit better than the last video, I thought. I think it was a little bit different gun. We had the normal Shadow System trigger in it. Much improved. We just got to get that little bug figured out. All right, so now we're going to go to my CZ gun. Again, I'm the hipster, Jim, with the CZs. And so I know this is a wonderful trigger. This is the Apex trigger that I dropped in here maybe about 2 months ago. I've been shooting it. And it's a real nice, excellent trigger, but we're going to see how it compares. So here we go. Pretty nice trigger. Probably a little less than 3 pounds on that for sure. Nice and smooth, easy follow through, pull through. And again, there's a reason why this trigger is still on my CZ right now. Not my carry gun, but it's a gun for definitely house home defense. Nice shooting for target practice, but that trigger is something else. So to compare the two, it's kind of hard because I was having trouble in sticking. Even though with that problem, I still want to say this Apex is a little bit smoother. Definitely much smoother, much better follow through. I still kind of feel that the Timney is nice. It's just a little bit, again, it's a little clunkier, a little more mechanical.
You feel a distinct wall in the Timney?
The wall, yeah, but it just kind of feels, I don't know, just a little bit too gritty in a way. Okay, and I don't mean that in a really negative sense, but compared to the smoothness of the CZ. So one's really smooth. You won't even really feel it. That wall, that reset is just so sweet and easy. This one, you definitely feel that wall. You feel the reset. Just a little bit more clunkier in its operation. And again, I think it's hard to tell as far as how I'm hitting. You can obviously see they're both very good groups there. But I think I'm a little more comfortable with that. But we're going to see what Jim does on when he goes ahead and shoots this.
Very good. Okay, as we saw when Jim was shooting the Timney, there was that sticking point. Sometimes when we train, we do this pull back, let it go, and then we want to feel the reset. This time I'm going to try that for the first few shots. I'm sure I'm going to get the same results. Then I'm going to try to sort of just go a little bit quicker and see if I can get past the point where I'm catching the reset and it'll reset on its own. So let's see how we do with the remaining rounds in the gun. Here we go. Faster without any more rounds. Grab one more magazine here. Let's see how this goes a little bit faster. See if I can get this reset to go. Yeah. So if you come off the trigger quickly, works fine. But if you're used to pulling the trigger, if you're used to pulling this trigger, holding it down, the reset, you're going to have this issue. So keep that in mind, that if you're shooting this trigger and you're having that reset, you're going to have to pull and let off quickly to be able to make this thing run.
All right, Jim, is that considered a flaw, though? Or is that something that you think Timney should look at? Or
absolutely.
That shouldn't be normal.
They are. There's a lot of people that are saying that maybe the trigger bar is out of spec, and I'm going to be contacting Timney to find out if I need to get a new trigger bar on the gun. Probably all it is. Really enjoyed the trigger. The trigger's very fast. Again, I wasn't worried. I wasn't trying to hit anything. I was more focusing on this trigger just to feel how it goes. I'm sure this thing will shoot very tight groups. Got the extra long barrel in this long slide version of the DR920. But more than anything, just wanted to see if I could make the trigger run in a quicker fashion. But yeah, there's definitely an issue when you're pulling you pull the trigger. If you're used to holding that back and trying to find the reset, you're going to have to tap it or do something to get it out there, or it'll just take a little bit of shaking to get that going. So we don't really want that as an issue. I'll be contacting Timney, but again, the trigger's really improved over the older standard trigger, but again, there is an issue. Again, there's supposed to be a little screw up top you can take this out, and there's a little screw that you can turn clockwise that supposedly increases your over travel and maybe gives you a little bit more consistency. But I'm going to contact Timney on Monday morning. We'll get that figured out. Then let me go to this little happy gun here. This thing shoots really well. Again, the Apex trigger, when we first felt it dry firing, fantastic dry firing gun. So let's see how this is on the, just in general. Here we go. There we go. I was writing this, so I know that's why it didn't lock back. Yeah, it's just very easy. Such an easy trigger. The Apex, everything we've ever had from them, I used to have some M&Ps, Gen 1s with the Apex trigger. Wow, whatever gun you have, if they offer an Apex trigger for it, especially in the CZ, it really transforms this gun. CZs come with a decent trigger, but you put this flat-faced short reset trigger from Apex in it, transforms this into a world-class weapon. Very rare to come across a better trigger. You might find some as good, but I can't imagine a better trigger for a gun than this Apex.
Yeah, Jim, when we were at the NRA show, we actually got a chance to play around at the booth at Timney.
Yeah.
And after I'd already got the Apex, and I was like, geez, maybe I had made a mistake. They had run out of them.
Yeah.
And I was not able to get them. But I don't know, actually shooting them side by side here, kind of. We'll see. Once we get that thing repaired, I want to find out that Timney.
Something to note as well is that the Apex trigger in the M&Ps and the CZs are astoundingly good. Some of the other ones I felt the Glock does improve it, not to the same extent.
Right.
The other one that is a little bit harder to find a huge difference is in the SIG P320s. We talked to them about that. It's like, why does this one end up so good? And the 320s, yeah, they're better, but not to the same extent. And he said it's all about the trigger mechanisms that are in the 320s. They're just a different beast, a little bit harder to tune down to a lighter weight. But yeah, if you have a CZ or an M&P, guarantee you that if you put the money into these guns, into these triggers, fantastic. And again, the Timney, outside of the fact that there's this reset issue, we pull the trigger, if we hold it down, we let go, it doesn't reset. You kind of have to flick it out. But again, if I pull the trigger and I release right away, it's fine. But if you are into that idea where you're going to hold it and then release, you got to kind of tap it to get it back, or you just have to flip it, but that's time off. But again, like you saw earlier, if you're pulling and releasing right away, see there, I held it, not going to go. But if I pull it and I release right away, it's good to go.
Yeah.
So something to take note of. But